Um, just in regards to my personal hobby, which is writing. I like writing. It started off a very long time ago, and I don't mean just going to school, but I have many other aspects of creativity that I like doing. Writing and fiddling around with my electronics, running around with a camera, just shooting images and putting them together, editing them together, telling little miniature stories, or just basically telling stories. It's now come to a point now, with a lot of people, but I'm going to stick to myself, that it's time that basically I just started to just look at it from a professional aspect, considering that I am in the industry professionally, did all that training professionally, and just realised that my thorough thing, like many other people, is I love to tell stories. One of my favourite stories is when I was back in England and pre-drama school, during drama school and post-drama school, I was always in what we call a cafe shop, a coffee shop, but sitting in the tables or sitting at the tables outside, regardless if it was a nice sunny day like this here in Los Angeles, California, or if it was a cold, shivery day. And I would people watch, but I would have my coffee and I would have a notepad or bits and pieces of paper and a selection of pens because of my dyslexia. The thing I loved about my dyslexia is that I love playing around with colours, and so I'd always run and get my little highlighter pack and my Parker pen and my pencils, and making notes, and all the other notes were in different colours, so basically things stood out to me on the page and I can skim my page and know where I'm going, and veer off, as I used to say, veer off in my roots. But I really love people watching, and that's something here that I've noticed, that during this pandemic, especially here in America, I mean, America's steeped with so many isms, so many issues. It's slowly, working herself through. Again, that phrase, working herself through. Whoever called the country feminine, but then again, that basically is something to do with the relationship of the Liberty statue that was given from France to this country. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I love to people watch, but this pandemic has caused so much grief that there is this. It is what I would call a very silly argument, but a life-saving argument. It's this. I'm just going to take this off. It's a face mask. It's more prone for the medical industry, specifically designed for the medical industry. The only thing that is missing from this mask is salt. When we go into researching, should I not wear a face mask? And if I do wear a face mask, what type of face mask to wear? What is the true purpose of the face mask? If I have to wear a face mask, how long do I wear this face mask for? Will this face mask suffocate me? Can I suffocate from wearing a face mask? how often do I need to clean my face mask? How much is a face mask? Can I reuse the face mask? Can I put things in my face mask to help me breathe? Like some people have sinus issues. Some people are allergic, they're sensitive to scent. Some people have skin irritation. Apparently, on one aspect of this pandemic, these are vanity aspects of the medical use of this. This is an emergency piece of equipment that in other countries it is part of the culture as a custom to wear during an emergency without any questions asked. What they do is that they supply you a basic one, and you are to be sensible with the use of it, and as soon as it is contaminated or you happen to contaminate it, you are required to throw it away. Now, that's why they've come up with variants of the face mask. There's even some that are designed where basically it has a facility in it which is an external like plastic element to it, where basically it allows you to breathe. You're breathing in the air. But the whole point of this face mask is that actually it is meant to prevent you from breathing in anything that is toxic. So these things that are added externally are kind of irrelevant. They should not really be there because you're not meant to be breathing in pollution. And again, some of them are not really designed for you to wear 8 hours of the day. At some point you are supposed to take it off and give this a rest and give all this some breathing space. So that's why this has been a very, very heavy debatable question as to how much use are we meant to put into wearing this face mask. And I've always said at the very beginning that I will wear this when I go in and out of shops, and when I know that I'm in areas that apparently are heavily hit by this pandemic. But on the flip side, because where I live and I grew up in a certain aspect of culture, which is Western culture, we don't really know how to utilize this to the best of our ability to stop being, as I would say, a bunch of wankers. Really, we are very stupid. We are really, really stupid in regards to what we class as an emergency. I'm not even using the word pandemic, I'm just sticking to an emergency. The reason being is because we have a society where we have an emergency system, emergency services set up. An emergency. Now, going on to a word that I don't really like to use, but it's called racism, in brackets, ignorance. We go back to certain countries that have this built into their society as a custom under an emergency. We're not doing what they do. And what has concerned me is that from doing my own news as well as listening to the mainstream news and walking around and doing my people watching and trying to figure out, like many other people, that not even within a decade, I just get this vibe that as soon as our current political leaders change, which has happened around some other countries, this country, definitely there is a huge unfortunate unpopularity vote for this current government, meaning most of this energy is steering towards this one individual to leave, and then a whole heap of media will start to come about. And when I talk about media, I'm talking about media in the sense of the storyteller. There is going to be a whole heap of films that will come out in regards to this one individual, talking about something as silly as this, but how this stemmed a whole heap of unnecessary negative energy which cause a lot of distress for people. There is a saying that basically, what is it? You're not to follow sheep. That's one example of a saying. This is not sheep. There's a lot of people that will understand where I'm coming from when I keep floating this around in the video, and naturally, which is conditioned naturally, the mind will go to the blue ones, which is what they see a lot around the world. And that's what I mean about, there's a lot of countries which within their culture as a custom of knowing what an emergency is and how to act in an emergency. In my own country, England, it's not because I'm black and I have this stereotypical angry black woman. Most of the GPs, led by Caucasian men and women, are angered. This was not implemented at the beginning. They're very, very angered. They are really angered. They are baffled. They're bemused. They're angered. And they don't understand what is going on with our political leaders. So they keep looking at things like, is it the cost of having to wear one of these? Meaning, is it the cost to invest on a daily basis? Especially if you contaminate it or it becomes contaminated. Because these are the disposable things. Are people that irresponsible? Because I'm staying away from words that are offensive because we live in this political correctness time. So are people that irresponsible that they would suffocate themselves on something like this, let alone the blue one? It's very disturbing. That's called mental health. It's a disturbance of the mentality of the health of our professionals who we see on a daily basis to give us prescription pills like antibiotics, penicillin, high doses of ibuprofen, high doses of paracetamol, codeine, the diabetes stuff, heart pills, etc, 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 to basically combat elements of an emergency, especially once we damage our skin. Now, without going into people that already have pre-existing illnesses and then they happen to like be mystified and they can't distinguish what is in the air in regards to, well, what is the poison in our air? Because I can give you an example now. I'm just going to point to this side of the camera here, this side of the camera where you can see the scenery in the blue sky. That is the mentality of myself and a lot of people when we look out into the air and we are looking to see basically, well, where is this virus, where is this disease, where are the droplets, how did it become airborne, what do these asymptomatic people look like, what does a person look like who has COVID-19 corona, what stages of the COVID-19 coronavirus do they look like, how clean do we have to be publicly in order to be able to go out and about and probably not even wear one of these, or where are we really supposed to be wearing one of these? Why are we not bringing this into the emergency state of our living, considering the vaccinations that are needed or required for this seasonal disease, which has now joined the family of a seasonal disease, because it's joined the family of flu. Flu is seasonal. It's joined the family of when people have irritation in their eyes from the pollen. Various times throughout the year, the pollen is heightened. When people have the sinuses, well, the sinuses, the sinus is something that basically it infects here and causes irritation here, and sometimes you may have like a slight throat irritation, but definitely your nostrils and your eyes are totally inflamed by that, disturbed by that. But these are all seasonal effects. So going back to that, why has this not really been taken seriously? Really been taken seriously? This is the stigma of physical distancing, aka social distancing, of 2020 moving into 2021 and maybe 2022, whilst half the world is going through a recession, a depression. So on that note, I'm going to be continuing to do People Watch, but that is like my sideline project at the moment, because it is the social distancing equals physical distancing is a very, very, very big societal issue change. It really is. It is as big, and this is me personally saying this, it is big as the American amendment laws, whether they be within the first, I think it's first 3 or something, but it's also as big as civil rights, this, and also human rights. Those are big issues. Something as simple as this, as a part of social distancing, which is originally called physical distancing. They are really, 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 really big, life-changing, sometimes threatening issues for humanity under human rights, the laws and acts of human rights, especially in an emergency. I'm not using pandemic. An emergency is more than suffice. More than suffice. So without going, oh, well, China did this, and Taiwan's doing this, and the Philippines are doing this, and you know, these other countries, and then, you know, oh, poor Africa this and poor Africa that. I mean, if you don't want to go into like this black woman that is hating on ethnic people, go ahead, that's your business, but that just shows the ignorance and why things have been so complex for rulers like Nike and Athena, especially when they go into spiritual practices. So now you have a better understanding as to why I say that I am spiritual. But this orthodox business that seems to be running our world, I think they're having a very hard time. Breathing. Be well, everyone, okay? And take care.